If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hour number 2 of VSiN Primetime here on this Tuesday evening alongside Matt Youmans. I'm Tim Murray. Game 4, Spit it out, Tim. Edmonton Oilers taking on the Dallas Stars. That game about to get underway north of the border. And in Indiana, right now it is Game 4 of the Knicks and Pacers. Real quickly, before we get to our guest, Matt, we do have some news regarding Bryce Harper. He left the game after getting hit in the elbow by a Spencer Strider fastball. He left the game. However, good news if you're a Philly fan or a Philly backer, the x-rays were negative. So he was removed for an elbow contusion. X-rays for Bryce Harper negative. So we'll see how long, if at all, he will be sidelined. But he was removed from the game. The Phillies do lead right away. 1-0, top of the 5th inning at Citizens Bank Park against the Atlanta Braves. All right, let's head to our progressive guest line. Welcome in from the Westgate SuperBook. Jeff Sherman joins us courtesy of our progressive guest line. And Jeff, right now looking at the market as we get set for Game 4 of Pacers and Knicks. You guys sitting at 219.5, Indiana -3. What have you seen behind the counter for Pacers and Knicks Game 4?
Well, we opened this game, Indiana 2.5, and saw some early sharp play on the Knicks, and that was with Neesmith being questionable for us. So it pretty much settled at 2. Then the public started laying 2, but then we took some other sharp play, -2.5, to get us to, we were one of the first books to go to Indiana -3 this afternoon. So we're sitting at -3, a little bit heavy on the Pacers side at this point.
Jeff, what was your viewpoint of how the Pacers blew that game? They were up 20 Sunday night in Game 3, blew the game, allowed the Knicks to come back, get back in the series. And I guess what's your prediction for tonight if you like a side?
Yeah, I mean, they did blow it, but at the same time, that was the best quarter of basketball that Karl Anthony Towns has played in his entire NBA career. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's tough to overcome something like that. But I do look to Indiana to rebound. I laid some 2 on Indiana tonight, just a small bet, but I think that, I mean, obviously it's a position that they need to get. They don't want to go back to New York 2-2, and I think you'll get even a better effort than what you saw in the first half last game.
Jeff Sherman, VP at the Westgate SuperBook. You can follow him at Golf Odds. Tim and I were talking about how great that game was last night with OKC winning by 2 on the road. Thunder now 0-7 against the spread on the road in the playoffs, laying 3 last night, won by 2, but it was a hell of a game. Where do you think that series goes from here? OKC an 8.5-point favorite in Game 5.
Well, I'd have to think that they would end it next game and not want to go back to Minnesota and even put themselves in that position. And, you know, we saw in the first 2 games that by the end of the game, they had dominated each one. So, you know, I'm sure they're confident enough that they think they'll handle business tomorrow. And I would expect that to be the case. You know, I'm not out there looking to lay 8.5 in the game, but I think they'll come away with the W.
You know, Jeff, what do you make of this stretch for Oklahoma City? Obviously, they're up 3-1. They were able to win last night, but they're 0-7 ATS on the road this postseason. So have odds makers been too high on the Oklahoma City Thunder? Have they not been reaching their potential? Look, they're still odds-on favorites to win the NBA championship, so it's not like they've been playing like a bunch of bums. But what do you make of this run here in the postseason where they're winless against the spread on the road?
Well, it's just because they have such a high power rating. You saw the games at Denver when they were laying 4.5, 5, and the public still gets behind them because of what they've done this year. So, you know, they're not covering it, but, you know, it's an adjustment for what we expect from the public. And you see the 0-7, but it's just because they have such a high power rating that it's tough to achieve those numbers, and people don't want to bet against them.
Once again, talking to Jeff Sherman from the Westgate SuperBook.
Jeff, you know, I asked you about this last week. You jumped on the show with us Friday night. So Tim said he thinks this is a must-win game for the Pacers.
I did. I did.
Something like that.
I'd say it's important. Important.
If they don't win tonight, they give the momentum back to the Knicks, who head home for Game 5. But let's say we're headed for a Pacers Thunder NBA Finals. How do you think that would play out? And do you give the Pacers more than a puncher's chance in that matchup?
No, I would have it. I would have Oak City about a $5 favorite, and I would expect it to go about. I would expect it to end about 4-1 in Oak City's favor. Indiana can shoot the ball well enough to get a game. They can beat anybody on any night. Maybe 2 if it went well like that, but I couldn't see Indiana winning more than 2 games in a series like that.
$5 favorite. That's a big price. If that's a matchup we get, Indiana and OKC. Are you, as a book, are you good on the futures with both of those teams?
We're really good on Oak City because there were such short odds all year that even whatever money we took didn't add up too quickly. We have small liability on New York and Indiana.
Jeff, when we look at the ice tonight, we've got Edmonton taking on the Dallas Stars. The Oilers, if you remove a brutal third period of Game 1, they've been pretty dominant in this series. But right now, when I look at the betting market, you guys are by far the lowest number out there. You have Edmonton minus 129, Stars at plus 119. Have you seen some action come in on your side of the counter on the Dallas Stars tonight?
Yeah, we took a $30,000 wager on Dallas plus 130, a respected wager there. So we're just playing around with our position at this point. But obviously with a 10-cent line, the handle is through the roof on games like this. So right now we need Edmonton for a little bit, but we're reducing that liability at this point.
What about the total right now? And I know you guys have some alts over at the Westgate where you could play 5.5, you could play 6.5. But if you just look at your actual number right now, you're at 6 minus 20 to the over. Most books that I see out there are 6.5 shaded under. What have you guys seen from the total and any need for the total tonight between Edmonton and Dallas?
Well, we opened the 6 over 20, and then you saw today get up to 6.5 over favored. But then immediately it got slammed under. So it looked like a little bit of market manipulation there. And I think the Sharps are looking to play it under, and they just got it to where they had wanted at that point. And now you see the 6 under favored pretty well. And we're back to our opener of 6 over 20.
All right, the puck's about to drop in Edmonton, Stars Oilers in Game 4. And we just had tip-off in Indianapolis. So Knicks and Pacers now underway. This line closed. Pacers minus 2.5. 219 here at Circa, and 3 and 219.5 at the Westgate Superbook. Jeff, Tim, you've never been to Jeff's office over at the Westgate, have you?
Never been invited, no.
Jeff's a big WNBA fan, and if you walk into his office, he's got a life-size cardboard cutout of Brittany Griner in his office. Jeff, you love the WNBA, and I believe you have a best bet tonight in the W, right?
Well, one of the things you said is true. I like it, but I don't have the Griner cut out. So we got a big slate, and I did play one game. I played LA against Atlanta. It's Atlanta's third game in 4 nights, and Atlanta's without Griner tonight. And the Sparks are getting Rakeia Jackson back, and she had missed some games due to concussion. So it feels like a good spot for LA to come away with a win here.
Actually, the WNBA wagering handle might be down a little bit, Jeff, over the next couple of weeks with Caitlin Clark sidelined with an injury for the Indiana Fever, right?
It will be, and tomorrow the Fever are the lone game against the Mystics, and I would expect to see a big drop in handle on that one.
Jeff, you can follow him at Golf Odds. Last word here with the Memorial Tournament this place at Jack's Place in Muirfield Village, Dublin, Ohio. And Scotty Scheffler, a very short favorite, less than 3-1 this week. Jeff, I don't think you've played any futures yet, but what are you looking at in the golf tournament?
Well, I like Aaron Ryan. I like Denny McCarthy this week, and they're about 50-1, but I just played them in a couple matchups. McCarthy minus 35 against Fitzpatrick and Ryan minus 45 against McIntyre. So I'll probably get involved in the outrights tomorrow.
You can follow him on Twitter at Golf Odds, VP of Risk over at the Westgate Superbook. He is Jeff Sherman. Jeff, always appreciate your insight.
All right, thanks, guys.
There he is, Jeff Sherman, giving us the latest from behind the counter as we are underway in Indianapolis.
Right
and Aaron Nesmith, Matt, who dealing with a little bit of a bum ankle out there guarding Jalen Brunson, hits a corner 3, and we are off and running, ladies and gentlemen.
There was Tyrese Halliburton off the rebound was running. He was off and running, and the Pacers were on the fast break. Halliburton hit Nesmith in the corner, and that's the way the Pacers need to play. Get up and down. Here they do it again. Another break. Pascal Siakam gets to the rim and scores. You got to play at a fast pace, Tim. You got to wear down this Knicks team that doesn't have much depth.
Total right now out to 222.5, 8-7. The Pacers with an early lead. Right now, your live line has the Pacers minus $1.75 on that money line. If you think the Knicks will take care of business, plus 135. And I'm sure that thing will be moving all over the place throughout this night. But yes, the Pacers out and gunning here to start this show. And Tyrese Halliburton, is funny, you mentioned it. We don't play clips just to pass the time. We play them that we think it makes some sense. And the Tyrese Halliburton one I thought was really interesting. We played it for the folks earlier in the show. We played it yesterday. So far, man of his word. They're getting out and they're running here early on in this one.
You knew that was going to be the emphasis. And I think in the first quarter you had to keep that in mind as well. 11-9 right now. Pacers with the lead. About to hit a 3. The live line is Pacers minus 4.5. Total 224.5. And it's 8-7 if you're watching TNT. But that's Aaron Nesmith with another 3 from the top. So 11-9 is the score right now.
Yeah, so folks, as you know, the NBA playoffs are rolling right along, and ProfitX, our partner, is offering the best odds all playoffs long. ProfitX is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40-plus states. You'll be able to make your sports picks against other groups of fans rather than against sportsbooks. Exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download ProfitX today and use the code VSiN, V-S-I-N, and earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month.
Pacers 5 for 25 from 3. We've mentioned that a few times tonight. Game 3, 5 for 25. Tim, you know what they shot from 3 in Game 3?
5 for 25.
That's correct. Tonight, Pacers 2 for 3 right off the bat. So if they continue hitting 67% from 3, I think they're going to be tough to beat tonight.
And the pride of Vanderbilt on a day that the SEC was puffing out their chest out at their summer meetings, telling us it just means more and we should have the whole entire college football playoff field. Vanderbilt's Aaron Nesmith off to a good start there, just like Diego Pavia hopes to be in 2025. That's Matt Youmans. I'm Tim Murray. It is VSiN Primetime.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We are off and running, ladies and gentlemen, in Indiana, and we mean it because the Pacers' pace is on the run, 16-9. Matt, did you know that they shot 5 of 25 from 3?
I did, and I know they're off to a 3 for 4 start tonight, or is it 3 for 4 or 3 for 5? Let's see, 3 for 4. You shoot 75% from 3, you're not going to get beat. The Pacers up 16-9. And that last 3 from Tyrese Halliburton, we were laughing. The Knicks didn't have a defender within 15 feet. Actually, the closest Knick to Halliburton was Spike Lee sitting in the first row. Sitting in the first row with his head down. So anyway, I'm not going to get too overconfident here. It's 16-11. Pacers up. They're off to a hot start. You knew there was going to be a lot of emphasis on the Pacers running and playing more of their style of game after they blew it and didn't do that in the second half on Sunday night.
Yeah, and the total, by the way, last night was just a easy over. Never had an opportunity, really, for the under. How about this, Matt? The over has already moved at 7 points from close. This closed 219.5, and it seemed like, if you read the market, it certainly seemed like there was some sharp action coming in, at least at circa on the under, as it closed 219 here. But right now, Matt, the pace has been frantic and out to 226.5. So we'll see if at some point if it does slow down. But you heard from Chris Massaro last hour. He did like the over, and that is certainly on pace right now. But a long ways to go. 16-11 the score right now. Pacers with the lead over the New York Knicks. Live line has the Pacers as a minus 220 favorite. If you think the Knicks will have another comeback, and if we've learned anything about this series or these two teams throughout the playoffs, Matt, both of these teams never count them out. And Tom Thibodeau even talked about that post-game following their comeback victory, as they're going to cut the deficit down here to 2 in just a moment. Both these teams definitely have opportunities to buy them at a low point, as both have shown their abilities to come back.
Karl Anthony Towns picks up his second foul there, so he goes to the bench. He's got 2 points and 2 fouls. 18-13, Pacers got the lead over the Knicks, and you're starting to see some rotation guys enter the game. Josh Hart now in for the Knicks. I love the way Hart plays. I mean, he's one of those guys that helps you win games. Smart passer, great rebounder first and foremost. Right there, how about that dish to OG Anunoby for the dunk with Josh Hart triggering the offense for the Knicks. Pacers, their half-court offense is effective, but Tim, I think that there's Pascal Siakam with a short, let's say, short turnaround. Baby hook in the lane, turnaround hook in the lane. Pacers are more effective when they can get out and run, and they're good in the half court, but more effective when they're playing in the open court. 18-17 here. Knicks are going to answer. Jalen Brunson with a floater in the lane, and Knicks are going to score again. So we got a fast pace. We talked about the total. Live total is up to 228.5. So not only are the teams playing fast, they're making shots.
Yeah, they are. It's been a very efficient start to this game, not even halfway through the first quarter. 1 point game right now between Indiana and the Knicks. No, the game is yet to start in Edmonton. Dallas and the Oilers. I took another first period under, as we'll sweat that first period out. Plus money there, as I played plus 115 earlier today at Circa. Right now plus 110. So we'll see if the Edmonton Oilers and Stars can keep it close and low scoring in that opening period. Game 4 of that series. The Oilers right now around a minus 135 favorite. We did hear from Jeff Sherman that a respected bettor took plus 130 on the Dallas Stars, so they have moved that number down to plus 118. If you do like the Stars here, Matt, it looks like Circa is the place to bet it at plus 126, but plenty of movement in Dallas and Edmonton. Game 4 of that series, Edmonton up 2-1, and once again, Jeff Sherman letting us know that a $30,000 bet came in on the Dallas Stars. A respected bettor had that one, as Tyrese Halliburton, Matt, hits another 3. He's feeling it tonight, but the Knicks, they're going to respond.
Knicks got an answer for Halliburton's 3, tied at 21, and this live total is just going to keep going up. 23-21, Pacers have the lead. The total is up to 235.5.
I hope we're in store for another one. Another great one, Matt. We had a great one last night between the T-Wolves and the Thunder, and right now, off to this start, it has been tremendous. And the Knicks, they're feeling it too. It is now 24-23, Matt. This has been, just taking a peek at the total, it is now 236.5. It closed 219 here at Circa. We're not even halfway through we're just now past halfway point of the first quarter, and the total has moved 17.5 points.
Shot making's been off the charts. They're playing fast and they're making everything they're throwing up right now. So eventually there's going to be a bit of a regression here, and the scoring's going to slow down. But right now, you're talking about 5 minutes left on the first quarter. We got 47 points on the board. Knicks drained another 3. Jalen Brunson came out firing tonight. And again, the most bet player prop at DraftKings, Brunson over 29.5 points.
Good start.
And he's off to a great start. He's got 10 points so far in the first.
10 points, 4 of 5 from the field. Great shooting so far. The Knicks, 10 of 13 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3. And the Pacers, 8 of 11 and 4 of 5 from 3. So, yes, you would think at some point, Matt, we will see a little bit of regression, but that number keeps going up. 238.5 right now is the total live number right now at DraftKings. So pick your spots, but Might be a hold on to your butt situation if you want to go under this total, because both these teams are off to red hot starts. But, betting unders is never all that fun. And at some point, you do think, as you pointed out, these teams will cool off. They're not going to keep shooting 70% respectively from the field.
But you can see that both teams came out playing with a great sense of urgency tonight, especially the Pacers forcing the pace. And I think when the Pacers started making every shot, the Knicks had an answer for that. And Jalen Brunson's been a huge part of that for the Knicks here in the first quarter. 25-24, Indiana with the lead. Now 27-24, 4:43 to go in the first quarter. Quick update on baseball, Tim. Dodgers lead the Guardians 5-3. Top of the eighth in Cleveland, Shohei Ohtani has homered in the game tonight. And Dodgers closed here at circa minus 127, minus 135 at DraftKings, total of 9 in that game. So sitting on 8 right now. I'll tell you one baseball line that did not make sense to me today. Detroit Tigers got the second best record in baseball.
Yep.
Jack Flaherty's going. I know Flaherty has not been fantastic early in the season, but Logan Webb going for the Giants. Tigers were home underdogs today to the Giants. Logan Webb is if you look at his home road splits, he's a bet-on pitcher all day long at home. Every time, bet on Logan Webb when he starts at home. You can fade him when he gets on the road. And I did not really understand why the Giants were road favorites here. Minus 118 at circa, 115 at DraftKings. And Jack Flaherty right now getting the better of Logan Webb and the Giants, 3-0 in the seventh inning. That's one of the spots where you feel like the Tigers got disrespected in the betting market. They got the second best record in baseball, 35-20. They got a good starter going, and they're home dogs to the Giants. That was one that had me shaking my head a little bit when I looked at the overnight lines. And really, the betting market didn't move much at all in that game.
Matt, coming up in about 5 minutes or so, Matt Grill from DraftKings Sportsbook, college football odds maker, as well as golf odds maker and handicapper. So we'll talk to Matt Grill coming up bottom of the hour. He was my guest on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast last week. We had great conversations looking at the Week 0 and Week 1 lines. I'm still mad at him that they didn't put up 3 with Stanford and Hawaii, but maybe we can get there at some point. 29-27. Was that a 3 from Josh Hart?
It's actually 31-27, but Josh Hart makes a 3. How about that? The Knicks are 4 for 5 from 3-point range in the first quarter. Pacers also 4 for 5. Pacers lead 31-29 with 3:43 to go. The live total 241.5.
It just doesn't stop, Matt. That total does not stop as Obi Toppin puts down a dunk there for the Indiana Pacers. A once upon a time draft pick by the New York Knicks.
Yep. Top 10 draft pick.
It was a top 10 draft pick, and they passed on Tyrese Halliburton in that draft, who went 12th to the Sacramento Kings. Funny how it all plays out there, as right now this has been a very fun and frantic start to this one between the Knicks and the Pacers. 31-29, 241.5.
I'll tell you, Jalen Brunson bettors are very happy right now if you played him over. He's got 12 points and he's headed to the free throw line.
You know who would be happy? Anyone who could get a free entry into Circa Millions or Circa Survivor. And our friends over at the Winner Circle Proxy are going to be giving those away. So if you're looking for a way to play Circa Survivor or Circa Millions for free this season, Winner Circle Proxy giving away one free $1,000 entry to each contest, plus you get full proxy service. And how about this, Matt? You'll also be paired with a VSiN host for strategy all season long. Enter now for your chance to win. winnercircleproxy.com/VSIN. That's winnercircleproxy.com/VSiN. Right now, Matt, live look, 83 entries into the Survivor, 38 into Circa Millions. 31-29, the score. The Pacers leading the Knicks with 3:43 to go in the first quarter. Total has already moved 23.5 points.
That's off to a fast pace. No score in the hockey game 5 minutes in.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
244.5, ladies and gentlemen, is where the in-game number is at right now, as this number has moved 25 points, and we're only 10 minutes in, Matt Youmans. The Indiana Pacers cannot miss from long range.
The score at the end of the first quarter will look like a halftime score in some games. Right now it's 37-31. We still got more than 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. And Pascal Siakam knocks down a three after Halliburton knocks down a three. Pacers up 6.
All right, let's head to our progressive guest line. We are always monitoring the DraftKings live line, and a gentleman who knows a thing or two about the lines put up at DraftKings is the trading manager over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Matt Grill joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line. And Matt and I were on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast last week, going through Week 0 and Week 1 lines. And Matt, you have a new market up right now over at DraftKings for college football, as we are less than 90 days away from Week 0, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting close to the start of the college football season. It is teams to go undefeated. You've got some yes-nos out there. And, we were talking off air, not a whole lot of, juicy numbers, or I guess short numbers, I should say, because it seems like there might be some parity out there heading into the 2025 season.
Yeah. Hey, Tim. Hey, Matt. Tim, really enjoyed doing the podcast last week with you. So thank you again for having me on there. We probably could have talked for 3 or 4 hours. We had to keep it to an hour and cut out some of the games. We were planning on going through the whole card, but didn't quite get there. But covered, I think, probably half of them or most of them. So I had fun doing that. Then, of course, I think a couple days later, we finally had those sought-after rotation numbers hit the odd screen. And then a couple other books popping up with some numbers. So excited that we kind of set the prices and set the market there, and was first out to take some bets and get some valuable information. And yeah, like I've been saying every week, we've got a goal to put out a new market just about every week here during the summer. And a couple of days ago, we got up the teams to go undefeated yes/no markets. So we got 32 teams up, and kind of something we've been gearing toward, just like with the season wins, are now parlayable. So you'd actually go and parlay a bunch of no's together. Probably some yes and no's. You get some pretty decent, some big prices once you start parlaying some of the yeses. Although keep in mind, only one undefeated team all last year was the Oregon Ducks. So tread lightly there. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of parity now in college football. So you're not seeing any win totals this year. They're like 10.5 juiced over, 11.5, like you might have seen in years past. I think 2 years ago, we had Georgia 11.5 juiced over with such an easy schedule, where they were an average favorite of 30 points a game. So just not seeing that anymore, which is good because we get some more unpredictability in the sport. You guys have probably been monitoring the SEC convention today, what's been going on there with Greg Sankey, and how the SEC and Big Ten are, kind of trying to take over the sport. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So just lots of changes going on in the landscape of college football right now.
Matt Grill of DraftKings with us. Grill, how about those win totals up on all Division I teams? Have you seen there's got to be a handful of teams where you've seen some action here early, over or under? What jumps off the board at you?
Yeah, for sure, Matt. Put those up about a week ago as well, early week plus, and I've got some pretty good action on those right away, getting some valuable information on some of the G5 teams especially. So we've seen some bets on, maybe these teams will bore most, but for the college football junkies, they'll love to hear this. South Alabama under, Bowling Green under, Arkansas State under. Taking a lot of bets on those, and we just been kind of swiftly moving these around to react to the bets and the market movement. So just been good to see a flurry of college football bets here in May, and these prices will solidify over the coming months. And then, of course, we'll probably just get a large influx of people, come August or a week or two before the season, to come in, a lot of the big names. So just excited to see all the extra markets crop up and lots of bets coming through.
Matt Grill joining us courtesy of our progressive guest line. I know we'll talk a little golf with Matt here as the Memorial gets going on Thursday at Jack's Place there. One of the Week 1 games that intrigues me, Matt, is Georgia Tech, Colorado. If you read Bill Conley's column looking at returning production, Georgia Tech, top 5 in the country. They bring back Haynes King. They love the underdog role the Rambling Wreck did last year as they beat Miami. They were right there with Georgia in that multi-overtime game, but they're a favorite on the road at Colorado. Always a polarizing team now with Coach Prime on the sidelines. You guys have it at 3.5 in favor of Georgia Tech in Boulder on that Friday night there of week 1. Have you seen any action on Colorado and Georgia Tech? And I guess secondly, how challenging was it to put a number out there for Colorado knowing all of the movement they've had on that roster?
Yeah, Tim, this is one we talked about in the pod, and we opened up Georgia Tech 1.5 point favorite on the road when we opened these up a couple months ago, and it's steadily climbed up to 3.5. There's some, I believe, some 4.5s out there, and we've been thinking about jumping it up to 4.5 here. Not quite yet, but it has been pretty heavy on Georgia Tech's side so far. Maybe don't quite trust them to cover over a field goal. As you mentioned, they've been usually the underdog the last couple of years now here as a favorite laying over a score. So maybe take a little bit of pause on that. And, we're going to kind of see how Colorado's roster in 2 deep crystallizes here still. The QB position, Caden Salter has transferred there. Probably his to lose, but that could go a couple different ways. Again, something we talked about last week, you and I. One of the very intriguing week 1 games, and just one of those out-of-conference college football games you love to see in early in the season.
The highest profile game is going to be Saturday, August 30th, Texas at Ohio State. At DraftKings, you got the Buckeyes -3, total of 50.5. Matt, do you anticipate much movement at all in that number by the time between now and kickoff? If it went either way, would you say it goes to Ohio State 3.5 or 2.5?
Yeah, we're sitting on 3, Matt. I think we opened this 3.5 back in January, and it's since come down. We've taken some Texas money, getting the points. It's going to be Arch Manning versus Julian Sain, it looks like. And your question as to where it goes, maybe a 2.5 or a 3.5, tough to say. I think we might get some movement on this game one way or the other come the week or two before the game. There'll be reports out in the fall camp how Sain's looking in practice. Now, Arch is pretty well documented. He's been really up in his game here in the off season, and you guys are. You two are going to be rooting for him because with those Heisman bets in your pocket, going to be rooting for him to have a big game and see that thing zoom down potentially if Texas can pull it off and Arch having a big game. So, yeah, like you mentioned, this is a monster game in week 1, and it's going to give either team a huge win in their back pocket. If they don't end up having a double-digit win season, maybe they could sneak in as a 9-win team with a win like that to go on their resume.
Arch Manning is going to be the more experienced starting quarterback in that Ohio State-Texas matchup in Columbus. All right, let's talk golf. Matt Grill, golf odds maker at DraftKings with us. The Memorial Tournament, Jack's course in Muirfield Village, Dublin, Ohio. Scotty Scheffler, less than 3-1 at DraftKings. I believe you got plus 280, right around there. What are you looking at this week, and what did you bet?
Yeah, Matt, one of my favorite events of the year here at the Memorial Jack's Tournament, Jack's Place, just because it really tests all aspects of the game. It's a monster course. It's almost 7,600 yards. So it's going to play more like a U.S. Open than any week-to-week event. So I'd be looking when betting this thing to start at the top of the odds board for one of these favorites. I think when you get a course set up like this, it's got, extremely fast bent grass greens as well. So look for some specialists there. But it's going to be the bigger hitters who can keep it in the fairway. This course is notorious for having extremely thick rough. And I started off my card with Ludwig Auvert. He's up around 25-1 or above. So with lots of course comps, looking at a similar course to Muirfield is Torrey Pines, where Ludwig won the displaced Genesis a couple months ago. So I think at this price, he's a really good option to start your card off. He was 5th here last year in his debut appearance. So if he can continue that, I think he's going to really have a good shot here this week. Of course, guys like Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa have had a lot of his success here as well. Cantlay winning a couple times. Morikawa just got nipped by Scotty last year. I think he ended up 1 stroke back, but he's won the workday on this course back in 2020 during the COVID season. I wouldn't venture too far out from the top guys this week. Maybe a Siwoo Kim, who's been hot lately. He's got good course history here as well. I think he's got about 4 top 15s on this course, and he's been good lately, can make birdies in bunches. I think that's someone around the 40, 45, 50-1 range you might want to look at. But I'd probably look at keeping a pretty tight card with the top guys this week, Matt.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Scotty Scheffler, 8 under last year, a 1-stroke victory over Colin Morikawa. In 2021, Morikawa lost in a playoff to Patrick Cantlay. Did you play any bombs this week? Typically you do. You got 1 or 2 way down the board. You might talk me into Ludwig Auvert, by the way, because I I had him on my short list. I haven't bet him yet, but I would definitely consider it. He's not in great current form, but this course might fit his game perfectly. You got one guy down the board you were thinking about this week?
Yeah, he's come down a little bit, Matt, and a guy who just has been in really poor form for a while here, but has kind of shown some life the last couple of weeks. Matthew Fitzpatrick, he's got good course history here. Yep. Got a couple top fives. He's shown some life lately. So I wouldn't think of him as a guy who would compete well on a course like this, but he's shown he can do it. So that's someone a little bit farther on the odds, but I think is worth a look for sure.
Matt, always appreciate it. Thanks again for jumping on the podcast last week, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
There he
appreciate
is.
It.
Matt Grill, trading manager from DraftKings Sportsbook.
We got another golf major right around the corner.
We do. We've got a goal in Edmonton, and we've got a whole lot of points in Indiana. We'll tell you about it next.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
2 playoff games going on right now, a pair of Game 4s. The Western Conference Finals on the ice. The Edmonton Oilers strike first, Matt, on the power play. Leon Draisaitl beats Jake Ottinger there for the goal for the Edmonton Oilers. So the sweat is on for me on this first period. Under 5 minutes to go in the first period. 1-0 is the score. The Stars have been outscored 10-0 in the first periods, I believe, on the road here in this postseason. How about 43 first quarter points for the Indiana Pacers, Matt? That is a playoff franchise record for the Indiana Pacers. 43 first quarter points.
What did the Pacers score against the Cavs in that first quarter? Remember that a couple weeks ago when they blitzed the Cavs and had like 70-some points at halftime? Anyway, Pacers scored a total of 42 points in the second half on Sunday night. 42 in the second half tonight, 43 in the third quarter. 3-point shooting off the charts. Knicks were 5 for 10 from 3 in the first quarter. Pacers shot 6 for 8. So the teams combined to shoot 11 for 18 from 3. And, Tim, you had 78 total points on the board at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, right now, taking a look at that live total, 243.5 is where we sit on that live total. Remember, this thing closed at 219 here at Circa. So a massive movement with the efficient shooting from both of these teams. And that is where we sit 49-43 right now. So, Matt, as we assess it right now, you had a pre-flop position on the Pacers. For folks who have not gotten involved, anything that you would potentially look at right now, how this game has played?
Yeah, I would have bet your life savings on the over, but it'd go back to a little too late for that.
Good call by Chris Massaro. I know he gets mad at me when I mush him. So it was a look, even if it doesn't come home, over was the right side here to start this game.
I'll tell you what, you're in a great spot. Now you could also
middle it. Yeah. 24.5 point middle.
Felt like doing it. At some point, first of all, the Knicks don't have much depth. The Knicks are going to get tired. They keep playing this fast pace. I don't think they can keep up the whole game. If the Pacers keep making shots and keep playing at a fast pace, it'd be very difficult for the Knicks to keep up. They just don't have enough horses for the race. I went back to Game 4 of the East semis. Pacers scored 38 in the first quarter against the Cavs and 42 in the second quarter. That's what I thought. Wow. And Pacers had 80 points at halftime in that Game 4 victory over the Cavs.
Quick update from the ice. We've got immediate timeout, 3:10 to go in the first period. As mentioned, Leon Draisaitl scoring on the power play, his 7th goal of the postseason. Right now, the total, which was 6.5 juiced under or 6 juiced over at the Westgate, has dipped down to 5.5, minus 30 to the under. And with 3:10 to go, I'll be sweating out those final minute and 90 or the 190 seconds here if we can get the first period under there. But the Oilers, a minus 315 favorite right now, Matt, on the money line in that spot as they try to go up 3-1 and head back to the Stanley Cup final for the second consecutive year. It's certainly feeling like right now, Matt, we will get a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup final that went 7 games. Panthers, of course, hoisting Lord Stanley Cup just a year ago.
Well, the Florida Panthers, like you said, up 3-1 on the road, and I mentioned it in the first hour. If you missed it, Pimlico Frank Caruli, a very well-known horse player, and SportsBetter said the game of the year is the Carolina Hurricanes plus 110.
Wow.
That's a bold call.
That is a bold one.
You're talking about a team that lost 15 consecutive conference finals games. Finally broke through with a win last night.
No one thought they would win last night. I mean, we talked about the betting splits, Matt. There was nobody on the Carolina Hurricanes. It felt like, all right, they lost game 3. They lost game 2. Right. What am I talking about? Game 3.
Games 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
so.
they did. And no one was believing in them. By the way, quick update from the Diamond, Matt. Max Muncy has just gone yard, a 3-run shot in the top of the 9th inning. So the Dodgers extend their lead to 6 over the Guardians right now, 9-3. And as mentioned, we had another homer, 3rd straight game for Shohei Ohtani, his 20th of the season. That one came earlier in the contest, but the Dodgers going to win in Cleveland up 9-3 in the 9th inning.
Back to basketball here for a second. So when the Pacers get to a point you feel like they got a chance to bust open a big lead, double-digit lead, the Knicks have been answering. They've been fighting back and making shots. Pacers were up 8, had the ball. Knicks have cut it to 3. So we got a 49-46 game here early in the third quarter. And the Pacers have certainly slowed down a little bit. I know it's early, first 4 minutes of the second quarter, but the Pacers' offense is kind of skidded to a stop here. You know it's going to happen at some point. You can't keep making 75-80% of your shots. But Knicks right back in this game, down 3. Not that they were out of it, but a couple possessions away from taking a lead. And it feels like the Pacers have kind of controlled this game, but they have not been able to pull away.
You do wonder, too, at what point do you look under? And you kind of hinted at this, right? 244.5 was the peak that I saw. Right now, 242.5. The shot making has just been tremendous, but at some point you would envision maybe a little tightening up of defense. Shots maybe don't start to fall a little bit. Look, we look back to the second half of game 3, Matt, and you mentioned it, 42 second half points in totality for the Pacers just on Sunday night. So we'll see if this thing does slow down a bit. But the Pacers, as they hit a couple of free throws here, they have a lead right now, and they are a minus 195 favorite on the money line at this point in time. And we will see if the Pacers, once again, can get to a 3-1 lead heading into game number 5. You know, what's tricky for you and I, you have a Pacers bet. I want your bet to come home. But you know, if the Knicks win, we win our pre-series bet.
I know that, but the way I've got this, the way I have this playing out, I'm well aware of that. The way I have it playing out is that the Pacers win tonight and the Knicks win game 5. Then you go back to Indianapolis for a huge game 6, where the Knicks are going to have to, win on the road in Indianapolis again if they're going to win this series. 51-46, 51-49. Knicks knocked down a 3.
Man,
and I tell you what, Knicks are playing really efficient offensive basketball here in the first half. First 4 minutes of the second quarter, the Pacers have 9 points, so they have slowed down a little bit here.
All right, Jake Ottinger, I'm not going to curse your name right now because Connor McJesus just had a very good look at a goal, and Ottinger was able to stone him as McDavid came on pretty much unimpeded towards the net, and a blocker save from Ottinger to keep the score at 1-0 still with 1:54 to go. So still sweating that puppy out. Counting down those final minute and 54 seconds to see if we can get it as we watch that three-pointer come home as a corner 3 from right there.
We got a tie game at 51.
Man.
How about that? Knicks not going anywhere. 7 minutes to go. Pacers, if you've noticed, have had Tyrese Halliburton out of the game, and they've turned the ball over and not played well with Halliburton on the bench. I think he's going to be coming back in right now.
Yeah, so 7 and change to go, Matt, and we've got a tie ball game between the Knicks and the Pacers right now, as that was a pretty nifty move there to get to the bucket. And, you know, Timothée Chalamet and Ben Stiller becoming best friends over there on the sidelines of these games. OG Anunoby tied it up at 51 apiece, Matt. So taking a look right now. Line back to where we were pre-flop. 2.5 is where we are. 51 apiece. The total, it's not stopping. 244.5 is where we are. And right now, the Pacers minus $1.40 on the money line. Knicks at plus 110. These never say die Knicks, Mats. They just don't go away. Neither one of these teams, as we've learned, all postseason long. I mean, last night, there was an opportunity, as we talked about, end of the third quarter to jump in on the T-Wolves. Both of these teams have given us ample opportunities, the Pacers and Knicks this postseason, to jump in game because they've come from way back, right? The Knicks, first team in play-by-play era to overcome 3 20-point deficits. And, of course, the Pacers have overcome 3 7-point deficits in the final minutes of games here in this postseason.
They have, and that's why live betting on the NBA is so great. So many opportunities out there to jump in. And you did it last night. You took the T-Wolves plus 7.5 in the third quarter.
Hey, folks, take your betting to the next level with First Bet. Whether it's Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, or Saratoga Racecourse, First Bet puts the action at your fingertips. Sign up now at firstbet.com. That's the number 1, stbet.com. And use this promo code VSiN200 to score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Bet smarter today. Firstbet.com. Minute 29 to go, first period. Edmonton with a 1-0 lead. Leon Draisaitl, his 7th goal of the season. It came on the power play, and right now I'm sweating out these final 83 seconds right now and see if we can get this first period under here. The Dallas Stars getting pucks on net, though. They have 16 shots so far on Stuart Skinner, who has really played exceptionally well since getting benched in the Kings series. He came in as Cal Pickard got hurt and has not looked back since. So the Edmonton Oilers lead that series 2-1 and lead 1-0 right now with a minute 23 to go in the first period.
Well, you're in a pretty good position here. Don't want to jinx you, but it could be back-to-back nights that Tim Murray wins first period unders in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's never, never under until it's over. Never over until it's, I messed it up. Never under till it's over, right? Something like that. So we will sweat this one out, and you will know the answer when we come back from break. Am I a winner or am I a loser? And the jokes already write themselves. Tim, you're always a loser. That's Matt Youmans. I'm Tim Murray. Come on back on VSiN Primetime.